Welcome back to Native Honor Hours. My name is Ed Zendejas, and my co-host is
Cindy Krafka, same as it has been for the last 10 years. You can just go ahead and introduce me.
I should probably tell people why I introduced the show.
Why, Ed? Tread carefully.
No, because you still don't know the name of it.
Well, because you picked it without consulting me.
Well, of course. You wanted to do something like moccasin grapevine.
I like moccasin grapevine.
No.
Commodity corner.
That's that's not too bad, but I don't know if I'd want to be known by Commodity Corner. Maybe
Native Honor Hours is just hard to say and hard to remember.
Not too bad, but
say it 5 times real fast. I dare you.
And you would say it wrong. But that's in case everybody. How come he always talks first? Because she doesn't remember the name of the show.
I do now, like 10 years later. But at the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, I had a little.
No, you don't. You'll still get it wrong.
Well, let's send out a little shout out to our Native American veterans.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to spend a little time on that today. Sort of the history of Native participation in United States Department of Defense activities and how
most of my cousins went.
Yeah, I have a good number of relatives. Our younger brother served in the Army.
Mario did?
No, my youngest brother. Mario is my older brother.
Yeah.
My father was a Navy veteran, and have an uncle that's. I mean, I would venture to say almost every Native person has a relative that served in the United States military.
My dad was in the Army, and on my mom's side, I think all of my uncles and most of my male cousins.
And actually, my grandfather served, and the thing that's interesting about that is, and I don't know if people really know this, so that's why we're here. At least me to provide the information.
And I'm here to provide you the correct information with the information that he gives you.
No, you didn't even know this. Now, a good number of indigenous men and women served in the military, and at their birth were not U.S. citizens. As I think we've said on this show a number of times, tribal individuals, members, were not considered naturalized American citizenship under the Elk versus Wilkins case. And for that matter, we weren't considered legally persons until, of course, the Standing Bear case in 1878. And I think the Wilkins case, Elk versus Wilkins, was 1882 or 84, something like that. But it was never; those cases were never overturned. And it wasn't until 1924, when Congress passed the American Indian Citizenship Act, that conferred citizenship over. There were some that were considered natural. If you were, part European, if you had, European blood or anything like that, you obtained citizenship through essentially your European blood. But for those that
kind of put this all into perspective, my dad was 10 years old when that happened. It's not hundreds of years in the past. It's a blink ago that natives weren't allowed to vote or considered citizens.
My grandfather, as I was saying, he was not born a U.S. citizen, and served in the military. I think World War II. Just having had citizenship conferred in 1924, but yet, we serve. When I say we, meaning indigenous populations, native tribal people, serve at a higher rate than any other group.
Per capita, there's more Native Americans in the military than any other ethnic group.
And of course, now we know about the code talkers. And that wasn't until 50 years later, when all that information was declassified. It was top secret, and we didn't even know about that information until most of us were adults. And and I always thought it was if you had a relative, grandpa, that served during that time period, they were under, orders not to divulge any of this. And so, a lot of their things that they did as military veterans, they couldn't say. They couldn't say, well, hey, you know what, I helped us win the war because I was a COTAR. They couldn't say that. And I just always wondered how they felt, and knowing that they made such a great contribution that went unrecognized. But then again, most Native people don't do things for the recognition.
And don't talk about it. We've talked about this before, but much as with the boarding schools, what was in the past was in the past, and you move on. We didn't talk about stuff like that. The good things that we should have shared, we didn't share.
But there are a number of examples of Native people serving in all branches, and even today, there's still, not even today, but you look at the number of people that are relatives that join, the mill. Actually, we have, nephew that's hopefully going to be enrolling this January, who just got out of the Marines. So, there's a great deal of support that Indigenous people have provided to the United States government, despite.
And yet, wonder how many of them are generals or sergeant generals, or I wonder how many of them are in the upper ranks of the military.
That I couldn't tell you. Maybe that's
because I can't think of one. Can you?
That's a good
astronaut.
That's a good research project for you to do. You can report on that next week.
We need your crack research assistant.
Oh, you know what though? It was a couple, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months ago. We remember I posted. We had the first Native female fighter pilot. Remember, yeah. I can't remember her name.
Yes.
But she was, she used to. That Jessica James used to be here in Omaha, moved back to Idaho. But it was her niece, I believe. That was the first Native, and I thought, man, that's pretty powerful to be. I think of all of the accomplishments of Native people. I'm thinking that James Harrington, who's I think it's Chickasaw, who's an astronaut, being an astronaut and or a fighter pilot. Those are two couple cool things that I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can. I would place them over athletes, definitely. And although Auntie Deb has accomplished a great deal, that's kind of hard. I don't know, Secretary of Interior, Congress, her and Therese Davids, or fighter pilot, astronaut. That's a pretty tough call.
To be honest with you, a fighter pilot, number one, because he goes into work every day knowing that she goes into work every day knowing she might be killed. Also today, for the first time ever, a woman has been accepted into the sniper services. The first woman ever to be a sniper. Now, I don't know how good that is, but we're getting up there.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Good with weapons.
I know.
But we'd, today being Veterans Day, I know this will be shown on TV next week, but we just want to recognize our Indigenous Native Indians of the week, all of our ancestors that served in the military, and grateful that we know them. And it's important to realize the contributions they made, even though, as I was saying, a lot of our ancestors were not citizens, and while they were serving in the United States military. An amazing fact that I don't think many of the other population is aware of.
Well, also from my years at UNO, we would go do college fairs at various schools on the reservations, and oftentimes it was me and one other college, but every branch of the military was there. So the military really takes the initiative at going onto the reservation and recruiting these kids. In our generation, I know the draft was supposed to be, what's the word? Not rigged. It was supposed to be legitimate, but the draft cleared the Rosebud Reservation of Native boys for Vietnam.
You mentioned my older brother. I remember him telling me that he was, we grew up during the Vietnam era,
Yep.
and that was a very unpopular conflict. And I remember my brother telling me, and I didn't, I was junior high starting, and I didn't all during the war, and I never felt threatened about going. I never felt like, a couple of years, it just never struck me. But my brother was telling me, he goes, yeah, his number was coming up because he was, 2 or 3 years older than me. And he said, yeah, he was thinking, I might go to Canada, so there was, and that was near the end or middle of the war, when the Vietnam War, when I think most people were coming to the conclusion that it was, sort of a politically unviable war. And he was quite relieved, once the war was over, because he was coming up pretty quick.
Well, and a thing that was different about the Vietnam War that riled so many people up, including my mother. It was the first time I ever remember protesting with my mother. Do you remember when you would sit down and watch the 6 o'clock news and they would show coffin after coffin after coffin coming off of the planes, or they would show actual battle scenes where you would see actual battle? I think that made a big difference in America's, how America viewed war. If mothers have to sit and watch their sons be killed over dinner TV on the news, let's stop the war. So I think TV made a big difference in how the wars were fought. Because
You
it's
want to
think about war, but you don't think about what happens to the men that go over there at 18. 18, 19-year-old, they're kids.
when it's quite common now to hear people say to veterans or people in there, "Thank you for your service." And my dad hated that, because my dad used to wear his Navy hat. He was quite, he liked wearing that. And days like today, people would come and say, "Oh, thank you for my dad." He would just go.
Did you have to go every single place that had free vet dinners?
No, I didn't. I told him on those, I'd just take you someplace where I have to pay, because it was just crowded. You'd have to wait forever. He's, "Oh, let's go to Hy-Vee. They're giving out." No, there's gonna be tons of people there. I'll just pay for your breakfast. My time is worth it, more valuable to me than waiting, so that you can get a, 2
Have you ever noticed grocery stores are the Indians' breakfast place of choice? Not restaurants or anything. We're in Hy-Vee, or we're sitting in some grocery store.
The fair, family fair, used to be Baker's. That's where all the old timers went. But yeah, my dad hated that. He didn't like people eating. You know why? Because he said when he was younger, no one ever said it to him, and he sort of felt, that the benefits weren't there, the health stuff. He always felt like they were getting shortchanged, and now it became sort of popular to say. So he just hated that. Strangers.
He was in the war, though, where they said horrible things to the soldiers. Luckily, Native.
He was in the Korean War.
Oh, Korean.
He wasn't in Vietnam. He was in the Korean War. But still, it wasn't. It wasn't like today. Where people were. Well, that's a common phrase here. "Oh, thank you for your service. Oh, thank you for your service." Not that we shouldn't. I'm just saying my dad hated it. And
for a lot of these kids, the service wasn't their choice. They were drafted. A lot of men our generation.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the politics of wars and what happened, but all I know is my dad hated that. So I've always been mindful when people say that, because whenever I was with my dad and someone said that, he would it would be funny to see some of the responses people, they were like, "Well, I'm just trying to be nice." I don't need to hear it.
That's what you're going to be like.
He said, "Where were you guys at when I was in?"
That's what you're going to be like, just like that.
You know what? I probably will. I have to admit that I'm more like my dad than I think I am. But
Well, and you know what? Today always makes me think of Ira Hayes. I remember, he was holding up the flag big. It wasn't until I was an adult that I found out the rest of his story. Ira Hayes was one of the three soldiers that is in that famous statue where they're holding up the American flag.
At Iwo
And,
Jima.
and
There was a movie about that and a song.
I
Who
remember
played-
the song, but I don't remember the movie. Who starred in it?
Well, there was an older one, starred, I think, some white guy, but they did a remake of it. Remember, Adam Beach played Ira Hayes? So there's a relatively
No, I don't think I've seen it. I saw Adam Beach as the code talker.
no, but he played Ira Hayes in I think it's a remake of the movie.
Well, the sad thing about Ira Hayes is they took him away from everything he knew. They made him be something he wasn't.
Well,
And it
well, that's-
ended badly.
That's what happened. We I don't know if we remember, we were talking about code talkers, but there's many examples of natives in the military.
There's also a lot of great books out there about the code talkers.
Flags of Our Fathers was the Adam Beach one in 2006.
I'm gonna have to see that one. I wonder where you can.
I'm sure it's on Hulu or
What was
Netflix.
it called again,
or-
Kenny?
Flags of Our Fathers. It was directed by Clint Eastwood, and Hayes was portrayed by Adam Beach. 2006.
You wanna
Wow, that's a
post
long
that to our page today, and maybe if you have a little time, you can see if it's on Netflix or
How did
Hulu
we
or-
skip having that one at our film festival?
I don't know. Oh, I know why, because remember, Adam Beach was too expensive to bring.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He wasn't even talking, native discount. But I think that's a primary reason why we didn't show, is that we couldn't come up with his fee. But
It's on Netflix.
all right.
All right, it's on Netflix.
So
I'm gonna have
see-
to watch that.
So steal somebody's Netflix ID. No, I didn't say that.
I don't even know which is mine, which is the kids. Everybody's just kind of, if any of us have to give anything up, the whole family structure will fall
You
apart.
better not incriminate yourself, Cindy.
I mean, I'm the only one who watches my program. And you know what, Ed? I think I'm signed up for stuff I don't even know I'm signed up for.
The copyright police will be knocking at your door.
I don't think they care about Grandma Cindy.
Oh, yes, they do.
And let them try to
Trust
find
me.
me.
Remember, you're in the system, remember?
But maybe because I belong to AIM, American Indian Movement.
Remember those number of years you served on probation? They still have you.
And my grandchildren are going to hear this someday, and they're all going to be, Grandma was in jail. No, I was not. I've gotten quite a few people out of the institution, but I have never been in the institution yet. Knock on wood. I say yet because it could always happen.
You know what, Kenny? There's always the potential.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And it might be you I hit.
With your temper. That's how come we're still doing this by Zoom. You can't.
And the older I get, the less I am good with ignorance. Some people I just want to reach out and slap. And I wasn't that. I work at a place with a mask requirement, and I'm getting yelled at a lot. And because I'm the employee, I can't strike back. But someday one person is gonna push me too far. I'm gonna go flying across that desk.
Your last day of work.
Yeah. And as I'll call you on my way out the door.
I'll say, who is this?
You know what? I was raised Indian. Well, let them hit me first. That was all I ever heard about fights. Let them hit you first.
I got out of a fight doing that one time.
Letting them hit you first?
No, I don't know if I've told this story or so. My dad got me a job as a roofer after I got out of high school. And a bunch of hardcore guys, blue collar guys that were, as they say, rough around the edges. And I don't know if my dad said, I don't know why he said this, but he always just said, here's my maybe because I was just a sort of a runt looking kind of guy. He looked like, could get beat up pretty easily. And he always say, yeah, he fought in the Golden Gloves. He was, he always used to say, I fought in the Golden Gloves. I was some champion or something like that. And I never corrected my dad. I didn't know the reason why he was doing that. And but my dad said a lot of things, and so over the years I just learned to run with it. Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
That was my dad too. My dad. Some of my dad's stories even made me raise my eyebrows.
And then they put me. I used to drive the truck. He used to deliver all the materials to the jobs, and they hired this one guy. He was a middle-aged white guy kind of guy, and he was new, and I'd been doing it for a year, so I kind of knew, where the stuff went and how to do it. So I was telling him, "Oh, we got to go here. Can't do it," and just nod at him, having some young, I'm sure, brown guy telling him what to do, and he just hated it. And we were at this job site one time, and I'm backing the truck up, and I said, make sure you do it. He just looked at me and said, I'm tired of your BS. You tell me what to do. And we were out in this construction site, and it had rained, so it's pretty muddy. And we were out there, and he said, I'm just gonna kick your, I said, all right, he said, I don't care if you were in the Golden Gloves. I'll take you right now. So I remember standing there, I assumed a fighting position, and I said to him, you take the first swing, because I'm not going to be responsible after what happens after that. Like this. He just sort of looks at me and starts circling me, so I'm just going around like this, and finally he just said, forget it, it's not worth it. So I'm thinking, that's probably why my dad did that.
See, if I would have said that to somebody, they'd have taken the first swing.
That was the ultimate bluff. Go ahead, take the first swing. I'm not going to be responsible.
With your dukes up.
So I was like, you ever
That's a
see,
mental picture I'm going to carry with me for quite some time.
you ever see, remember Sanford and Son, Fred Sanford?
Yes,
Remember
yes.
That was me. I was like,
I was watching that the other day. So inappropriate for today's world, but so funny. There's a lot that they would not be able to do today that they did on that show.
That's my fighting story right there. That's the closest I came to a fight in I don't know how long. But
I've only been in one, and I got hurt, so I never did it again.
I bluffed my way out of it.
Long.
For all your tough talk, could you throw?
My mom taught me to fight with my brain, not my fists.
Okay. Well,
and she taught me how to back
probably
it up.
Getting beat up a lot then, huh?
I gotta throw a punch. I can throw a punch.
Not with your brain, though.
I've taken you down numerous times with my brain alone. Well, looks like we're about out of time.
Well, got any knuckleheads? We've had so many knuckleheads in the past couple of weeks. I mean, I think we should give knuckleheads. And this week, let's just focus on all of our Native veterans, our relatives, uncles, aunties, brothers, sisters that served in armed forces. And this is their day. So we appreciate having you as our family members and being good examples to the rest of us. So,
well, we'll be back again next week. Will we be back again next week?
I don't know. Are we, Kenny? Do we need to give her notice of show? We're gonna have to serve her.
Okay, you know what? Look at this fully made up face. If it's not fully made up, it's not going on the screen. That's just all I have to say about that.
Well, people don't notice anyway.
Yes. What is wrong with you? Of course they do.
No, they don't. But if we take a survey, we're like, who's she?
Oh.
See, you can't hit me.
No, I will see you though, Ed, and I have a long memory.
No, my wife will be with us, and you wouldn't dare.
I can take her too.
No,
I can't. I love Monica too much. We would both cry. We would hit each other once and cry.
Because all you do is fight with your brain. If it's a brain versus brain, I'll put them up.
Oh, you're bad. See y'all next week.
All right, Kenny, is that it?
Sure. You want to say anything about our guest coming up?
Oh, what's who's our guest coming up?
I don't know.
We're supposed to have one of these days. We're going to have James LaPointe in. He's the new Cindy and Gretchen.
Native
and-
American, or I don't even know what they're called anymore. Also, we're going to have on our very own Alex Walker, one of our homegrown activists. She is an amazing girl. I always love to catch up with her and find out what's going on.
I'm trying to get her ready to be on council.
Good, you do it.
I don't think she believes me.
I think she'd be good.
Well, yeah, I otherwise I wouldn't be training her.
Yep, and you never know who we're going to get. You just never know, do you?
No, while we're sitting here trying to burn time, I guess I will announce me and my daughters are doing a Native American Heritage Month activity here at the campus of the University of Nebraska, Omaha, in the College of Public Affairs and Community Service building next Tuesday, November 16th at 6:30, 7, I don't know. We're doing
Danny, will you post that so we can remember to go?
I don't want you there.
I'm going. I'm going to stand in the back and laugh, heckle you. Woo!
You
Yeah,
can,
just
well,
send me the
see,
link.
that's the good thing about it. My daughters are going to be there.
Not afraid of them, just Monica.
You know, I
My
have
daughters like me. I'm good with your girls.
I have 3 daughters that are attorneys. 2 of them are judges. My oldest daughter is the chief judge for the Ponca Tribal Court. My daughter Jordan is the associate judge for Winnebago Tribal Court, and my other daughter is an attorney for the Omaha Tribe. And she's got, if you're going to be there, she's going to talk about her case in the Iowa Supreme Court. It's an ICWA case. It's very cool. It might have the
maybe
potential to
talk
go to
about it
Supreme
next
Court.
time.
So if you're not doing anything on Tuesday night, check us out. But Kenny's given us the finger, the middle, the one finger. I think we're out.
We're
see you guys-
out. Have
we'll
a
see you
good
next
week,
week.
everybody.